Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you were there? Or maybe you've been in the middle of a story only to suddenly pause and say, wait, what was I saying again? If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. It happens to so many of us after a certain age. And while a little forgetfulness is perfectly normal, it doesn't mean we have to just sit back and accept it. See, just like our muscles get weaker when we stop moving, our brains can get a little sluggish if we don't give them the right kind of attention. But here's the beautiful part. Our brains are like gardens. With the right care, the right exercises, and a little bit of consistency, they can continue to bloom and thrive, no matter our age. So today we're going to talk about something incredibly important. How to fight memory loss after 60. And no, I'm not going to ask you to memorize long lists or solve math problems. Instead, we're going to talk about 5 simple exercises that can gently but powerfully keep your mind sharp and focused. You don't need fancy tools and you don't need to be tech savvy. All you need is a willingness to care for your brain, just like you've cared for so many others in your life. Let's start with something that might surprise you. It doesn't look like a brain exercise at first glance, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do every single day. Walking, yes, simple walking. When you take a brisk walk for even 20 or 30 minutes a day, you're not just moving your legs. You're increasing the flow of blood to your brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients to keep those neural connections alive and active. And guess what? Studies have shown that regular walking can actually increase the size of the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory. Isn't that incredible? And here's the best part. You don't need to walk fast or far. Just find a park or even walk up and down your hallway. Maybe take your grandchild along, or your neighbor, or your dog. Let the rhythm of your steps clear your mind. And as you walk, you're quietly telling your brain, I'm taking care of you. Now, while your body's moving, let's also talk about how we can get your brain moving in a different way. One of the best exercises for memory is learning something new. And no, I don't mean going back to school or taking exams. I mean learning in a joyful, natural way, like picking up a new recipe, trying your hand at a new hobby, or even learning a few words of another language. Why does this work so well? Because when you challenge your brain with new information, you force it to build fresh connections. It's like asking your brain to wake up from its nap and start growing again. You're saying, hey, we're not done learning yet. And the brain, just like a child who hears the promise of a new toy, lights up with curiosity. Maybe you've always wanted to learn how to play a musical instrument, or maybe you've been curious about painting or photography. Don't worry about becoming an expert. The joy is in the doing. Even spending 10 minutes a day on a new activity can help improve your memory, focus, and overall mood. And the more variety you bring into your learning, the better your brain will respond. Let me share something personal here. One of my dearest friends, Anita, turned 67 last year. She had never touched a paintbrush in her life. But one day on a whim, she picked up a set of watercolors at a local market. She started painting flowers she saw in her garden. At first, she laughed at herself. They look like colorful blob, she said. But she kept at it. 2 months later, she told me she was remembering more, sleeping better, and feeling more confident in conversations. Why? Because painting gave her brain something new to play with. The truth is, our brains love variety. They love novelty. They love the feeling of, I've never done this before. That little spark of excitement, when you try something unfamiliar, is like fuel for your memory. Now you might be wondering, what if I don't have the energy for all that? That's okay too. We're not talking about changing your entire life overnight. We're talking about gentle, meaningful steps that fit naturally into your day. And this leads us into another beautiful practice. Mindfulness. Just the act of paying attention. Most of us spend our days in automatic mode, brushing teeth, making tea, watching the news without really being present. And when our attention is scattered, our memory suffers too. But mindfulness changes that. It brings us into the present moment, and memory lives in the present. So how do you practice mindfulness? You don't need to sit cross-legged or chant anything. You can simply sit by your window, feel the sunlight on your face, and focus on your breath. You can take a few quiet minutes in the morning and listen to the sounds around you, the chirping of bird, the rustle of leaves. This quiet awareness calms your nervous system and improves concentration, which is the foundation of memory. Even while drinking your tea, you can practice mindfulness. Feel the warmth of the cup, smell the aroma, taste each sip slowly. These small moments, when lived fully, become anchors for your brain. They bring clarity, calm, and a gentle sharpening of memory. And there's something else I want to gently remind you. Don't ever be hard on yourself. If you forget something, it doesn't mean you're losing your mind. It just means your mind needs a little more kindness, a little more care, and a little more movement, just like any other part of your body. When you take time to walk, to learn something new, to be present in the moment, you're not just avoiding memory loss. You're creating a richer, more vibrant experience of life. You're telling your brain, we've still got a lot of living to do. So now that we've explored the power of walking, the magic of learning something new, and the quiet strength of mindfulness, let's keep this journey going. Because your brain is still listening, still learning, still ready to be awakened in beautiful ways. Let me ask you something. Have you ever laughed so hard your cheeks hurt? Or shared a story that left everyone in the room smiling? That kind of connection, that spark of joy, does something truly incredible to the mind. Which brings us to one of the most overlooked yet powerful brain exercises of all, social interaction. Yes, chatting with a friend over the phone, having tea with your neighbor, or even joining a group activity at your community center. These aren't just good for your heart, they're fantastic for your memory. Human connection stimulates mental engagement. Conversations challenge the brain to listen, recall, and respond. It's like a natural workout for your mind, and it doesn't even feel like exercise. You don't need to attend a big gathering to get the benefits. Even a 5-minute heartfelt conversation with someone you trust can shift your mood, reduce stress, and activate parts of the brain linked to memory and attention. And if you haven't spoken to an old friend in a while, maybe today's the day to reach out. Pick up the phone, say hello, and relive a few old memories. Not only will it warm your heart, it'll wake up your mind. And here's another beautiful idea. Tell your stories. Yes, your stories. The ones from your childhood, your first job, your proudest moments, even the funny little mishaps that still make you smile. When you recall and retell these stories, you're strengthening the pathways in your brain. You're organizing memories, reliving emotions, and exercising recall without even realizing it. And as a bonus, you're passing down your wisdom, your laughter, your life to someone who'll treasure it. There's a kind of magic in storytelling. I remember sitting with my grandfather when I was a child, listening to him talk about riding a bicycle across muddy village roads or stealing mangoes with his cousins. He wasn't trying to be a teacher. He was just sharing his life. But I know now that those stories kept his mind sharp, his spirit alive, and our bond stronger than ever. So if you ever feel a little foggy, a little slow, maybe what your mind really needs is a good story, either to tell or to hear. Go ahead, pull out that old photo album, write down a few memories in a journal, or share something with a grandchild who's never heard it before. You're not just entertaining them, you're nourishing your own brain. Now let's turn inward for a moment because there's a kind of exercise that requires no one else, no tools, and no schedule. It's something most of us don't do enough of: visual imagination. Yes, using your mind to picture something vividly. Think about it. Close your eyes right now and picture your childhood home. See the door. Picture the kitchen. Can you remember the smell of something cooking? The texture of the furniture? That act of visualizing in detail fires up so many parts of the brain. You're accessing memory, imagination, emotion, all at once. You can even turn this into a gentle daily habit. Just sit comfortably, close your eyes, and picture something in detail. It could be a peaceful lake, a garden in full bloom, or a happy day from your past. Try to see colors, hear sounds, feel textures. This simple exercise is like sending your brain on a little journey, a journey that keeps it alert, flexible, and awake. If you enjoy reading, you're already doing this. Every time you read a book and create mental images, you're exercising your brain in a deeply effective way. So read often and don't rush through it. Let the words take shape in your mind. Let yourself get lost in a story, whether it's fiction or real-life biography. It's not just relaxing, it's therapeutic for your memory. And while we're on the subject of the inner world, we can't ignore one of the biggest reasons memory begins to fade in the first place: stress. That constant background tension, that tightness in the chest, that never-ending to-do list, even in retirement, it follows many of us. And stress over time quietly chips away at our focus, clarity, and memory. But there's hope. You have the power to calm your mind. One beautiful way to do this is through something as simple as breathing, just slow, deep, intentional breaths. Try it right now with me. Breathe in gently and breathe out slowly. Feel that soft wave of calmness? That's your nervous system beginning to relax. When your body relaxes, your brain opens up, your memory clears, your thoughts become more organized. This kind of breathing practice, especially when done a few minutes a day, is like giving your mind a warm bath. It soothes the noise. It brings peace to the chaos. And from that peace, memory grows. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't need to sit in silence for hours. Even one peaceful breath taken with awareness can start to shift your brain back into balance. And as you begin to bring these small practices into your day, walking, learning, connecting, storytelling, imagining, you're slowly building a healthier, more vibrant mind. It may not happen overnight, but with patience, with consistency, you'll start noticing the difference. You'll find yourself remembering where you put your keys, recalling names faster, finishing sentences without hesitation. And more than that, you'll feel a deeper sense of joy and purpose in your days. Because memory is not just about facts. It's about staying connected to others, to yourself, to your journey. And when you begin to care for it gently, you'll realize just how much strength you still carry within you. Let's continue nurturing that strength together. And now, as we come to the end of this conversation, I want to remind you of something very simple, but deeply powerful. Your mind is not fading. It's simply asking for your attention. Like a garden that hasn't been watered in a while, it just needs care, not panic. You've seen how small steps can make a big difference. A short walk, a meaningful conversation, a new hobby, a quiet breath. These aren't just actions, they're little gifts you give to your brain every single day. Even if you start with just one of them today, that's enough. You're not behind. You're right on time. Don't measure your worth by what you forget. Measure it by your courage to keep growing. And if you ever doubt yourself, remember, your brain has carried you through decades of life, love, hardship, and wisdom. It's still here, and it's still capable of beauty, laughter, and learning. So keep it moving, keep it engaged, keep it loved. If this message touched you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what practice you're starting today. If you found this video helpful,